This is just a simple exercise to share some ideas about creating your report. I put it together as a PowerPoint, but you yourself can either do a PowerPoint, you can do any number of formats. So essentially, for the purpose of this activity, you're to construct about 5 to 6 slides, a PowerPoint report, explaining your policy topic of interest. As mentioned, you can use Keynote, Pages, Prezi. It's entirely up to you. But the general idea is to represent your advocacy for a policy to your classmates and myself. So we're starting this process in Module 7, and the aim is to present your PowerPoint or digital presentation during Module 9. I'll allow for you to just read these tips for success, and we'll move to an example. So here's an example of a topic and how it's being represented in a PowerPoint format. Behavior modification in schools. So the idea here is that you're going to identify a problem related to the education. And the key piece here is to look at the premises or assumptions, some would call these claims, behind the problem and the response to it. So in this instance, you have students, youth, or behavior problems versus exhibiting behavior problems, a subtle but important distinction. Then there's current thinking, which may not be so current anymore, but the out-of-school suspensions and expulsions have been determined not to work, and then in-school suspensions put into practice have demonstrably shown improvement. Anti-bullying programs are another example that could be discussed in this slide or slides. So in this instance, your aim is to discuss some steps, providing a definition for each. This can get a little tricky, but let's go over some of the steps. So you're identifying the characteristics of policy. This is right from our first module. Looking at ambiguity, specificity, official discourse, such as youth at risk. That's official discourse. It has to do with referring to youth. Ideological considerations. And that gets pretty involved. That could mean what are the general ideas, beliefs, values that society has with regards to this topic, and framing the issue. The next slide would be where you analyze a policy of interest or impact in your particular field. Now there may be policies out there already addressing your topic, in this instance behavior modification, and you want to represent some of that. In terms of data, you might even look to survey some persons that work in schools in this instance to see what their beliefs are. In your last slide, you want to present some solutions. So in this instance, demonstrating steps taken to analyze current educational policy. These are two, the Senate Bill 100 and essentially some of the conversation around Senate Bill 100 are represented here. Do the best you can on this, and you'll have a chance to trial it with your colleagues and myself for feedback.